Hello and welcome to this special episode of Blue Alpine TV. In this episode, we will look at what is a soft fork and what is a hard fork, and we'll quickly jump into some examples. So let's look at a soft fork. A soft fork is, here you can see it. A soft fork is when, or let's take it one step back. As you know, when you do a transaction on the blockchain, it gets recorded in this public ledger, so that everyone knows that at, let's say, 23rd of December at 4 p.m., there was a transaction between me and you. Now, when you follow the blockchain in general, the whole how the blockchain is built is following a certain set of rules. As long as the entire blockchain is adhering to these rules, there is no problem. So the entire blockchain will have the same data, so my copy of the blockchain will be exactly the same as your copy of the blockchain. Now, in the terms, in the situation where a soft fork is introduced, it will be that the current nodes, or let's say the next blocks, will violate the new rules, because you have, let's say, defined a new set of rules when it comes to soft forks or hard forks. And depending on that type of rule, the chain kind of makes a turning point. So instead of following the normal pattern, which you can see here, so this is all the nodes from non-upgraded nodes. So you have here follows old rules, follows old rules, follows old rules, but violates the new rules. So let's say the soft fork says that the new block size is not 1 megabyte anymore, but 500 kilobytes. So it goes into a different direction, and you have then blocks from upgraded nodes. So these are the upgraded nodes. This is following both the old and the new rules, old and new, old and so on. So this is just a kind of a turning point for the blockchain to really decide, okay, here from this point on, because the rules have changed, we will do a soft fork. So we'll turn around and then follow both the old and the new rules. However, all the nodes that follow only the old rules, they will violate the new rules and won't be accepted into the blockchain anymore. So this is basically the how the blockchain runs, or how these nodes are connected. Now, what is the difference between this and the hard fork? Now, in a hard fork, you have the blocks from non-upgraded nodes. You have the nodes that follow the old rules. Now the hard fork comes, and you have some nodes that follow the new rules, and you have some nodes that follow the old rules. The difference is just both chains continue as is. So let's say in this case, we have decided, or here at this stage, we have defined a new set of rules that are completely different from the typical chain that we've had here. So then you would make a hard fork, you would follow new rules, and the upgraded nodes will actually follow the new rules here. Now, what happens to the old nodes? The old nodes will still continue with the old rules, and this won't have any effect on the type of on the blockchain in general, because the blockchain can have multiple forks. So this is just how the way continues. And if you remember here in the soft fork example, it's basically at this stage the node stops accepting the new rules because it violates them. So in here, it still continues with the old rules, so there is no problem, because these nodes are still following the old rules, and these nodes are following the new rules. So it's an either or, and these will continue in that chain, and these will continue in this chain. Now, is there any kind of example we can look at? Sure. For example, we have hard fork examples here. Is Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. The most, I would say, successful hard fork so far is Bitcoin Cash. One of the points where Bitcoin Cash was not agreeing with Bitcoin in general was the block size, for example. So as you know, the block size in Bitcoin is 1 megabyte. Bitcoin Cash, I think, is 2 or 4 megabyte, which makes the blocks bigger. And here it was not an ideological decision to split from this chain, but rather a technological. Now, in the case of Ethereum versus Ethereum Classic, this was more of an ideological change that happened. So there was the DAO, the decentralized application organization or something like this was last year founded and hacked at the same time, I think last year or the year before. And with that, Ethereum decided to do to refund or to turn the stolen money back to the Ethereum people and the community from the DAO. And this is where the split happened, because Ethereum Classic said, well, this is the blockchain, you can't revert certain nodes, you can't do any kind of changes. So they split in a hard fork and continued with this Ethereum Classic, which still follows these which follows these kind of new old rules, while Ethereum follows the new rules. And the soft fork example, like I said, would be block size reducing from 1 megabyte to 500 kilobyte. And this is a purely technological change. And here the soft fork would just, so the old nodes or the non-upgraded nodes would violate these new rules of 500 kilobytes. And with that, we're at the end. We'll probably dive into a bit more detailed example in the future soon. So this is just for a quick refresher, and I'll see you on the next video.